Gaming has become more popular as time flies by, resulting in a cluster of rare games. From a single copy game that is worth more than a Lamborghini and a house put together, to a game created by Coca Cola in which it destroyed Pepsi. We count 15 of the most expensive video games ever made. Number 15. Star Wars Ewok Adventures. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $1,680. Advertised in Parker's Brothers' 1983 retail catalogue as Revenge of the Jedi Game 1, but affectionately known as Ewok Adventure. The cart became legendary for never being sold. In the game, players took control of an Ewok and flew a hang glider over the forest moon of Endor in an attempt to blow up an Imperial base. You could avoid or kill enemy stormtroopers, speeder bikers, or Imperial ATST walkers, or you could instead commander these vehicles to take out the base. The game was shot down by Parker Brothers' marketing department, who felt the controls were too hard to master, so it was never produced. The game's designer Larry Gilberg gave the one and only prototype copy to a friend's son, who later sold it for $1,680. Number 14. Pepsi Invaders. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $815 to $2,125. This was a revision of Space Invaders, specifically designed and built for the executive level of the Coca Cola Corporation, so there are believed to only have been 130 of these games at most. Instead of waves of aliens being fended off, the player must shoot invading letters that say Pepsi, as well as a flying Pepsi logo that replaced the flying saucer at the top of the screen. The game also includes a 3-minute timer so the player can't muck around. A recent copy on eBay sold for $815. Other verified sales on eBay include a 2005 sale for $1,825 and a 2010 sale for $2,125. Number 13. Superman, Sears Telegame picture labelled version. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $1,000 to $3,000. Don't get too excited if you have the standard Superman release with the red text on the labels. Even a typical Sears release of the Superman game with the text only label is only worth $150 to $200. However, if you have the Sears version that has the yellow text and the picture of Superman on it, you're in luck. It's the rarest of the Sears Telegame variants and can fetch a few $1,000s. Although if you have a boxed copy, you're in great luck. One recently sold on eBay for over $30,000. Number 12. Karate Ultravision. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $2,500 to $4,000. Some of you may be shocked by this winding up on the list, because the Froggo release of this game for the Atari 2600 really isn't rare at all. If you happen to be the proud owner of the Ultravision release of the game, however, count yourself among the lucky few, because both the T and square case Ultravision releases are considered with these rates. However, there isn't much of a difference, so owning the Froggo version will allow you to play the game as well. Number 11. Gauntlet. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $3,000 to $5,000. This title has nothing to do with the later action RPG series Atari would release. The plot follows Sir Robert Whittenbottom as he runs the gauntlet of an ancient tribe in an attempt to prove his manhood and join the tribe. The player could run around or leap over various obstacles and could survive multiple hits before finally succumbing to the wounds. The game was a mail order only from Answer Software and was not contained in a box, instead coming in a foam case. We haven't really seen much activity on this release in recent years. Copies back in the early 2000s went for about $3,000, but it would be safe to say that it could reach $5,000 or more if it went up on sale in good condition today. Number 10. The Music Machine. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $380 to $5,250. This title by Sparrow was only available through religious bookstores. That's right, it's a religious game for the Atari 2600, where two children must collect the fruits of the spirit that fall from the music machine into a basket, then grab a heart to move to the next level. This game was the only video game released by Sparrow, though they still exist today. A Music Machine LP was released at the same time, which contains several inspirational songs which could be listened to at the same time. In 2009, a sealed copy sold on eBay for $5,250. Then a loose cartridge of the game sold for $500 in August of 2012, and another also sold for $380 in September. Number 9. Kizuna Encounter. This game is for the Neo Geo and has a price tag of $12,000 to $13,500. One of the main games that all Neo Geo fanatics are looking for is a particular version of Kizuna Encounter, a 1996 fighting game similar to Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. The game itself has received solid reviews, but isn't groundbreaking by any means. However, it was produced in such small quantities for the European market that collectors speculate fewer than 15 copies were made. The Japanese version, which is exactly the same except for different packaging, is fairly common and sells for about $50. Number 8. Red Sea Crossing. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $10,400 to $14,000. This game was created by Steve Slack at Inspirational Video Concepts in 1983 and was advertised in some magazines, but wasn't uncovered by gaming collectors until 2007 at a garage sale. As the story usually goes, there were only 100 copies produced, but they were quickly lost with no idea what happened to them, and there are only 2 copies that have surfaced. According to the advertisement, the game was supposed to come with a colouring book and an audio tape, but we have yet to see any of those items. The cartridge sold for nearly $14,000 on eBay. Another showed up at a Medium Bob's Curiosity shop in Philadelphia and was later sold on Game Gavel for $10,400. Number 7. Atlantis II. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $5,000 to $18,000. This was a special tournament version of the Atari 2600 game Atlantis. The gameplay is much faster, the scoring system has been slightly altered from the original, and enemy ships are worth far less than the original version. Copies of the cartridge were sent to the top players in the Defend Atlantis competition, primarily because there were far more than 4 people capable of maxing out the score in the original Atlantis. Of those receiving the cartridge, 4 were chosen and sent to Bermuda for the final round of the competition, where the winner won $10,000. The game looks identical to Atlantis, though a sticker with Atlantis 2 typed on it was stuck to the front of the box. It is also unknown who won the competition. Number 6. Nintendo Campus Challenger. This game was for the NES and has a price tag of $14,000 to $20,100. In the early 1990s, Nintendo held competitions on college campuses and at popular spring break destinations. Players had 6 minutes to play for high scores on demo versions of Super Mario Bros. 3, Pinbot, and Dr. Mario. Most copies of the game were destroyed after the competition ended, but one Nintendo employee kept his cart and sold it to Rob Walters at a garage sale in 2006. This garage sale is legendary among retro gamers, as Rob bought all kinds of NES Holy Grails for only $1,000. By the time he resold everything, he'd made about 50 times that. Part of that $50,000 was the Campus Challenge cartridge, which went for $14,000. Shortly after, the buyer of the cart turned around and sold it on eBay for $20,100. As far as anyone knows, it's the only copy of the game in the world. Number 5. Air Raid. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $3,400 to $33,400. Air Raid is a bit of a mystery for Atari fans. Some say it was the one and only game produced by a company called Univision. The game is so shrouded in mystery it can't even be verified that Air Raid is its official title, as there is no name on the label. The name has been given based on the gameplay, which is similar to Atlantis and Missile Command, and also by the picture on the label of a city being attacked by flying saucers, jets, and helicopters. This strange cartridge appeared around 1984 in a bright blue T-handled casing that is very different from the standard square black Atari carts sold to North America, but is similar in style to those sold in Brazil. While a few second-hand copies have been sold, no one can ever say they were the original owner. There are only 12 known copies of this game, which make it a huge want for serious Atari collectors. Number 4. Birthday Mania. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $15,000 to $35,000. Birthday Mania cartridges were specifically ordered cartridges with personalised title screens and spaces on the front where names could be written in. The game focused on the player blowing out birthday candles, and the game was billed as the perfect birthday gift. It didn't really catch on, so there are very few of these out there on the market. The copy from Atari Age is the only known in existence. Back in 2009, the highest known offer for a copy of Birthday Mania was $6,500, but it was turned down by the owner with recent sales of Air Raid and the rise of collecting over the last 5 years. Birthday Mania could easily fetch 2 to 5 times that amount of that offer in today's market. Number 3. 1990 Nintendo World Champions Gold Edition. This game was for the NES and has the price tag of $15,000 to $35,000. The Gold Edition of Nintendo World Championship was given out at a Nintendo Power promotion. 26 copies of this cartridge are floating around the world somewhere, which makes this game extremely rare to find, and the most expensive Nintendo game in the world. What makes it so unique is that it holds 3 competition copies of Super Mario Bros, Rad Racer and Tetris that have had their scoring codes tweaked for tournament play. Number 2. Stadium Events. This game was for the NES and has a price tag of $13,000 to $41,300. Stadium Events was released by Bandai in 1987 as one of the few games available in America that was made for the company's family fun fitness mat. Nintendo bought the rights to the game and the fitness mat in 1988 and re-released them as the world-class track meet and the power pad controller. To avoid customer confusion, Nintendo pulled all copies of Stadium Events from shelves and had them destroyed, but not before approximately 200 carts had already been sold. Of those 200s, collectors believe that only about 10 to 20 complete copies of the game exist today. Stadium Events recently made headlines with 2 high-profit eBay sales. A North Carolina woman was cleaning out her garage and found an old Nintendo and a handful of games, including Stadium Events. She put them up on eBay without high expectations and was amazed to see the bids steadily climb up to around $13,105. In-tap boxes for any game are really hard to come by, but especially for Stadium Events. Empty Stadium Event boxes have been known to sell for around $10,000 alone. After hearing of the success of the eBay seller, a man in Kansas dug up a factory sealed copy of the game that he was just about to donate to Goodwill because he thought it was pretty much worthless. However, his game became the only second sealed copy in existence. He'd purchased the game in 1987 but could never find the fitness mat to go with it. It was still sealed because he'd meant to return it. When his eBay auction ended on February 26, 2010, the game had sold for an amazing $41,300. The same game repackaged by Nintendo World Class Track Meet generally sells for less than $3 on eBay. Number 1. Gamma Attack. This game was for the Atari 2600 and has a price tag of $20,000 to $500,000. The rarest and most expensive game of all made an appearance on eBay with a buy it now price of $500,000. That's $500,000 for a hunk of plastic and silicone, but it is unique. There is only one copy of Gamma Attack in the entire world, and it makes it special. And it better be with a price like that. Thankfully it has surfaced on the internet as a ROM, so you'll be able to play a $500,000 game for the low price of free. Just make sure you don't get caught.